in my mind. This sentiment has evolved, but the message remains the same, that I'm solely responsible for her life. Now, at 19, I've grown to feel disconnected from her expectations. Her constant reminders of mortality have led to a sense of apathy within me. It's hard to muster the motivation to help her, even when it's needed the most. I'm left questioning my own behavior and wondering if I'm just being a bad child for feeling this way. Can anyone relate to this situation? Am I the only one who's struggled with this kind of emotional manipulation? TLDR*. My mom constantly guilt trips me into doing things for her, citing her eventual death and how I'll be left alone. This has led to feelings of apathy and I'm questioning my own behavior. My partner's dad made me a sandwich. It sounds so dumb and insignificant to say it, but it made me tear up. My dad used to make me and my mother cook him food, because if we didn't he'd go eat takeaway, which he wasn't supposed to do because he had a heart condition. A seemingly simple act of kindness from my partner's father left me emotionally moved. He handed me a sandwich from the refrigerator, a gesture that resonated deeply within me. My own paternal grandfather had a long history of placing himself first, often expecting others to cater to his needs. He'd instruct my mother and me to prepare his meals, insisting that he was incapable of cooking even the simplest of tasks, like pouring cereal. His health condition had necessitated a diet of home-cooked meals, but it also instilled a sense of dependency that extended beyond his physical limitations. As a child, when my mother was away, I was left to fend for myself, making my own meals and packing my own lunch. It was a lesson in self-reliance, but one that also left an indelible mark on my heart. Today, however, as I walked downstairs and my partner's father handed me a neatly cut sandwich, I felt a lump form in my throat. It was a small act, yet one that spoke volumes about the kind of father he is. The way he had taken the time to cut the sandwich into 4 squares touched me in a way that words cannot. TLDR: the narrator is touched by a small act of kindness from their partner's well-just update. I went to 2 stores along the route and one was run by this cute older couple. So I told them this was my husband's favorite store and he is homesick and I wanted to surprise him with his favorite tea. A change in plans for the day. I wanted to update you on my latest situation. I had planned to visit a specific store along my route, but I found myself detouring to 2 other liquor stores instead. At the first store, I met a charming older couple who ran the place. I confided in them that my husband is a regular there, and he's currently unwell at home. I wanted to surprise him with some of his favorite items from their store, so I showed them a picture of him. They were familiar with his face and kindly offered to show me the selection of alcohol. The second store I visited was also a liquor store, and I couldn't help but notice that it was one of the 2 places I had stopped. Upon returning home, I decided to investigate further by rummaging through our barrels in the car in our driveway, which hasn't been running lately. What I found were empty nips and bottles, which suggested that my husband may have been secretly indulging in his vices. As a result, my husband and I have decided to take some time apart, at least until he can get his life back on track. My boyfriend passed away yesterday. He went out to a lake with his friends and drowned. His body was not found for 4 hours. We were together for a year. We were supposed to move in together this summer. We had tickets to see our favorite artist next month. He was only 24. Why, yesterday was a day that will forever be etched in my memory. The news of my boyfriend's passing has left me reeling, and I'm still struggling to come to terms with it. He had gone out to a lake with his friends, and despite their efforts to save him, he tragically lost his life in the water. His body was discovered hours later, after a long and agonizing wait. We had been together for nearly a year, and our future was filled with promise. We had plans to start a new chapter together, moving in and building a life. We even had tickets to see our favorite artist, a dream we were eager to share. His vibrant spirit and infectious enthusiasm had captured my heart, and I was deeply in love with him. He was so young, full of life, and his passing has left an unbearable void in my life. I find myself oscillating between numbness and fleeting moments of anguish. I text him, hoping against hope that he'll respond, that this will all be a terrible dream and he'll walk through the door, alive and well. I know, intellectually, that he's truly gone, but my mind and heart refuse to accept it. It's as if I'm stuck in a perpetual state of suspended tales from the parking lot. Mr. Roboto, today there is an event at 3, a hockey game. Usually a pretty big mix of people. I just had the weirdest customer ever pull in. Dude pulls up. Roboto. How much is parking? Me. DFUQ, $10 sir. He then proceeds to do slow-mo. A night in the parking lot. Mr. Robato's visit tonight. A bustling event is scheduled at 3 a hockey match, drawing a diverse crowd. In the midst of this excitement, a most unusual customer arrived. A gentleman pulled into the parking lot. Mr. Robato pauses. How much does parking cost? Me. Surprised. $10, please. The individual responded in a peculiar manner, mimicking a robot's movements. The sounds were a mix of whirring, hissing, and buzzing noises. Mr. Robato. ZZZT. CCHHH. VVVV. Shaw. Here, you, go, human, me. Taken aback. Thank you. As the vehicle drove away, I caught a glimpse of a young boy in the back seat, radiating joy and clutching a toy robot. His beaming smile spoke volumes about his father's thoughtfulness. TLDR, a customer named Mr. Robato visited the parking lot, showcasing his robotic persona by mimicking its movements and sounds. Amidst his unusual behavior, a heartwarming moment occurred when a young boy with a physical disability in the back seat was seen smiling, holding "I hate people who defend narcissists more than I hate the narcissist cause without other people they have no power. But they surround themselves with impressionable, weak-minded idiots who can't think for themselves. As a result, the narcissist can do no wrong." The narcissist WR. There's a peculiar phenomenon where individuals defend narcissists with unwavering loyalty, often surpassing their disdain for the narcissist themselves. This dichotomy arises from the narcissist's clever manipulation of those around them. By surrounding themselves with impressionable and naive individuals who lack critical thinking skills, the narcissist is able to maintain a facade of invincibility. Any criticism or wrongdoing levied against the narcissist is swiftly discredited and attributed to the complainant's supposed flaws. For instance, if a narcissist has wronged someone in the past, that person is likely to be portrayed as a liar or an individual holding on to past grievances, thereby rendering them the bad person in the eyes of their admirers. Conversely, if the narcissist engages in even the most trivial behavior that might ruffle their feathers, these followers will mercilessly condemn the person who dared to challenge the narcissist's authority. This stark disparity in treatment is a testament to the insidious nature of narcissistic manipulation, where the narcissist skillfully cultivates a cult-like following of individuals who blindly adhere to their every whim. TLDR. People defending narcissists often demonstrate more hostility towards those who criticize the narcissist than towards the narcissist themselves, revealing the narcissist's ability to thought he forgot my birthday. He hates his own birthday. Like, do not say happy birthday at all, please. Levels of hate. Just not his thing. He hadn't mentioned my birthday at all, and I thought he might have forgotten what day it is due to how busy he's been late. It seemed like he had forgotten my special day. He's not a fan of celebrating his own birthday, so much so that he'd rather not have it acknowledged at all. It's not his cup of tea. Given how busy he's been lately, I wasn't surprised when he didn't mention my birthday, thinking he might have even lost track of the date. However, at 12:01 a.m., he suddenly stopped our TV show, broke into an impromptu rendition of Happy Birthday, and retrieved the snacks, drinks, and cake he had secretly bought earlier while I was at work. We're planning a visit to the plant nursery later, where I'll get to pick out my own present, a lovely plant. I'm absolutely smitten with him. Edit. Thank you for the birthday wishes, I appreciate y'all's smiley face. The WA doesn't like my project car, so I've decided to park it legally in front of the neighborhood's grand entrance. For context, my family and I recently moved into a rental house while our new house is being built. The rental is in the back of a gated community on a mostly. The Homeowners Association's disapproval has led me to park my project car at the neighborhood's main entrance. To provide context, my family and I are temporarily residing in a rental house while our new home is being constructed. The rental property is situated at the rear of a gated community on a mostly undeveloped street. Recently, I received a letter from the Homeowners Association informing me that I'm not adhering to a regulation, which includes a strictly enforced by towing provision stating that vehicles may not be parked on the street overnight. The letter included a photograph of my project car, a 30-year-old BMW, parked outside our rental house on the street. This prompted me to research the HOA's restrictions, which I hadn't seen before as a renter, and I discovered a long list of regulations, including one that carries a hefty fine for leaving the garage door open when not in use. I was taken aback by this revelation, as several of my neighbors have parked their cars on the street without issue since I moved in, leading me to assume it was permissible. I speculate that they may have targeted me specifically due to the age of my vehicle, but I argue that it's well maintained and not an eyesore. Tifu by falling in love with my husband, obligatory. This didn't happen today. Reading that, falling in love with my wife, Tifu today reminded me of a similar situation I experienced in my early 20s. Me, 21M, and Amp, my best friends bro, 25M, were roommates in an E. A cautionary tale of unrequited love. The first was reminded of a peculiar situation from my past that bears some resemblance to the falling in love with my wife, Tifu story I came across today. During my early 20s, my roommate and close friend, who was 5 years older, approached me with an unusual proposal. At the time, I was a college student in Southern California, and he was a young engineer working at an aerospace firm, where his exceptional skills and charisma earned him a hefty salary. He expressed concerns about the high cost of living in California and how his finances were being drained by taxes. He jokingly suggested that I ask one of my sisters to marry him, for tax purposes, and he'd be willing to compensate her handsomely. I seized the opportunity to poke fun at the idea, suggesting that I'd be more than willing to marry him for a smaller stipend. To my surprise, he took me seriously and agreed to the arrangement. We went through the motions, getting dressed up, taking wedding photos, and even visiting a courthouse with our friends as witnesses. As a result, I gained a tidy sum of money and rent-free accommodations, while he benefited from a significant tax reduction. Over the TIFU by not telling my company I'm colorblind. Obligatory. This did not happen today. I have protanopia, the color red is non-existent to me, as well as most of the green spectrum, with a considerable part of the blue spectrum classified as muddied. Back in 2006 I took a job. TIFU by concealing my color blindness from my employer. For those unfamiliar, I have protanopia, a condition where the colors red, green, and parts of the blue spectrum appear differently to me. This includes a lack of red visibility and a distorted view of the green spectrum. I've grown accustomed to living with this condition, often choosing not to disclose it as it doesn't significantly impact my daily life. In 2006, I transitioned from a software-focused job to the transportation department, handling cargo shipping and receiving. After being laid off from my previous role, I took a chance and joined a smaller air cargo company with a team of less than 10 people. I quickly adapted to the new environment and began to excel in my responsibilities, particularly in negotiating costs for cargo transport. As time passed, I became an integral part of the team, handling various tasks with ease. However, my color blindness soon became a liability. During a task in the records room, I was instructed to sort and file waybills into designated folders, labeled as either international or domestic shipments. I completed the task efficiently, sorting through 6 months of backlog in a day and a half. The mistake that would lead to my downfall was my inability to distinguish between the red AITA for refusing to help my neighbor and her 2 young children when their wipers were frozen. I, 59M, live in a major city in Ontario, Canada. I live in a small subdivision and have 5 neighbors total on my street. For the past few years during the winter when we're getting Am I the asshole for not assisting my neighbor when her car windshield wipers were frozen? I'm a 59-year-old man living in a major city in Ontario, Canada. Our small subdivision has 5 neighboring families on the same street. For the past few years, during heavy snowfall, I've made it a point to check on my neighbors' cars before heading out for my overnight shift. I've been putting up the windshield wipers on my wife's car and the rest of our neighbors' vehicles, as many tend to forget or overlook this task, especially those with young children. This gesture has earned the appreciation of my neighbors, and we've developed a sense of community in our area. Some of them have even started doing the same for others. However, a new family moved in recently, and I've had only one prior interaction with the couple. Last week, it snowed heavily, and we were expecting significant accumulation. As I was leaving for work at 9 p.m., I decided to check on my neighbors, including the new family. I approached their house, hesitant but still willing to help, and put up the wipers on their pickup truck. Unfortunately, the husband came storming out and aggressively demanded that I leave his property and not AITA for canceling the birthday party I planned to throw for my wife after what she did. I am 36, remarried after my late wife passed away. I have a son, 15. My current wife and I have been together for 2 years. She generally has a good relationship with my son, although Was I in the wrong for calling off my wife's birthday celebration after what she said? I've been married to my current wife for 2 years, ever since my first wife passed away. I have a 15-year-old son from my previous marriage, who has a passion for woodworking. He's been learning this skill from his grandfather and enjoys making handmade wooden items as gifts. To celebrate my wife's upcoming birthday, I had planned a special dinner at an upscale restaurant. The day before the event, my wife saw a wooden tree my son had made with our names on it, which he intended to give her as a gift. When she spoke with him, she mentioned that she appreciated the thought but asked him not to bring the gift to the restaurant. I didn't understand her reasoning at the time, but when my son shared this with me, I felt compelled to confront her about it. She explained that she thought the gift looked silly and didn't want it displayed in the restaurant in front of her guests. I was taken aback by her response and called her out for being insensitive to my son's efforts. She insisted she wasn't ashamed of his gift but simply didn't want it to be seen in a specific setting. I told her not to worry about it. Neighbor is shit bombing my front yard update. I'll be sure to post updates, so please stop PMing me or replying to my comments. Post history outside of this sub asking me to do so or suggesting I shit bomb them back. My wife noted that what we think might be his kid comes a. My front yard is being deliberately soiled by our neighbor. Update. I'll post updates here for transparency and to avoid any confusion. Please refrain from PMing me or responding to my comments with unrelated suggestions. We've observed that a child, likely the neighbors, visits our neighborhood frequently. Given our desire to maintain a positive relationship and the possibility that our neighbor is facing difficulties, we're choosing to address the issue through conversation before exploring more formal avenues. Updates will follow. Original post. I'm seeking advice on how to handle a frustrating situation in Idaho. And AMP X200B, our neighbor across the street has been letting his dog defecate in our front yard. The issue began a few weeks ago when I saw him walking his dog into our yard while I was working in my garage. He didn't notice me, but this unusual behavior caught my attention. Since then, my wife and I have noticed an increase in dog waste, which we attribute to careless dog owners walking their pets in our lawn. However, my wife had been picking up after our own dog regularly, so we suspected something was amiss. And AMP X200B. This behavior recurred a week later. As I watched the neighbor walk his dog into our lawn, I called out to him AITA for giving a company my honest opinion on their interview process when they asked for it. I applied for a job a few months ago. It was a completely online work from home job regardless of the current situation, so all communication and process was done online. Was I the a-hole for giving my honest feedback on a company's interview process after they asked for it? I had applied for a retail consultant position a few months ago, which involved providing advice to online shoppers. The job was completely online and allowed for remote work, just like most companies were doing at the time. The company's hiring process started with an email inviting me to an online interview. The interview was scheduled for the following week via Zoom. When I joined the call, I was surprised to find 30 other candidates were also participating. The hiring representative instructed everyone to mute their microphones and listen attentively to a lengthy presentation about the company's history, finances, and goals. The presentation lasted for 2 hours, after which the hiring team announced that they would be selecting 5 candidates to move on to the next step based on our facial expressions during the presentation. Following the presentation, the company asked us to write a 3-page essay on a topic of their choice within a 2-hour time frame. After submitting the essay, I received an email informing me that I wasn't selected for the next round, along with an attached survey about the interview process. The survey asked for our honest opinion on the interview process, which I provided. I expressed my disappointment with the lengthy AITA for cutting off support to my daughter. I, 52M, have 3 children with my ex Tracy, 50F, Michael, 28M, Linda, 25F, and Victoria, 23F. We split because Tracy had an affair with Stan, 55M, to whom she is now married. We never shared with the kids the reason for the divorce fallout. Am I the villain for cutting off support? As a 52-year-old father, I have been navigating the challenges of co-parenting with my ex-wife, Tracy, since our divorce 15 years ago. We have 3 children together: Michael, 28M, Linda, 25F, and Victoria, 23F. The divorce was a difficult process, and I chose not to reveal the reason behind it to our children, hoping to spare them from the pain of blame. However, my efforts to shield them from the truth ultimately backfired. My children witnessed their mother leave the family home and move into a small apartment, while I continued to reside in the house and remarried 2 years later. They perceived me as the bad guy, and Tracy and her current husband, Stan, allowed them to do as they pleased, whereas I maintained discipline and ensured their needs were met. It took time, but my 2 eldest children eventually came to realize that I was not the villain they thought me to be. Michael discovered that Tracy had not set aside any money for his college education, as outlined in our divorce agreement, and Linda realized that her poor grades would prevent her from attending her desired program. In contrast, my youngest, Victoria, never seemed to TIFU by making my GF sleep on the couch on Valentine's Day obligatory. This happened last night. I went out with my coworkers last night after work and stayed out pretty late. I ate a lot of greasy food and my stomach was feeling it a few hours later. When I got home, my GF TIFU by forcing my girlfriend to sleep on the couch on Valentine's Day. As I reflect on the events of last night, I realize I made a mistake. After a long day of work, I stayed out with my coworkers late into the night, indulging in some greasy food that would ultimately come back to haunt me. A few hours later, my stomach was rebelling, and I was bracing for the worst. Upon arriving home, I found my girlfriend already asleep, so I decided to let loose and clear my system of the offending toxins. Unfortunately, my gaseous emissions were more potent than I anticipated, lingering in the air for an unsettlingly long time. Given the late hour, I didn't think much of my nocturnal flatulence, but it would prove to be a costly oversight. This morning, I awoke to find my girlfriend absent from our bed. I entered the living room, where I discovered her peacefully slumbering on the couch. My initial concern about the unusual sleeping arrangements was short-lived, as she revealed the reason for her relocation. She had been awoken at 2 a.m. by a pungent odor emanating from our bedroom, which had given her a headache and made it impossible to sleep. I attempted AITA for using my BF's last name, even though we're not yet married. I've created a throwaway because I usually lurk here but don't have a main Reddit account. This is not a big dramatic situation, but I'm curious about what people will think since this has really divided peep. Am I the asshole for adopting my boyfriend's last name professionally? I've made a Reddit account today to ask for your thoughts on a situation that has been causing tension in my life. It's not a dramatic issue, but it has sparked strong reactions from people around me. I'm a 30-year-old female copywriter working in a highly competitive field. Although English isn't my native language, I've spent over 6 years honing my writing skills in English and have had a successful career as a result. A couple of years ago, I was struggling to land job interviews, and I hypothesized that it might be due to my last name being too common and people assuming I was not proficient in English. To test this theory, I asked my English native boyfriend if I could use his last name on job applications. Given that we're planning to get married and I would eventually take his last name, I didn't see a problem with it. I made it clear that I wouldn't be claiming to be a native English speaker, but rather stating that I have a native level proficiency. To my surprise, using his last name on my CV actually worked. I landed my current job, and I continue to use his last name on my professional profiles, not proud to be Texan anymore. There used to be a time when I was proud of my home state. I used to joke with people from out of state that they better stop talking smack about Texas, or else. But not anymore. Talk all the shit you want about that god-forsaken state. Be losing faith in the Lone Star State. There was a time when I took pride in calling Texas my home. I'd often jokingly tell people from other states to watch their backs when it came to disparaging the Lone Star State, but those carefree days are long gone. The state's current leadership, a significant portion of its residents, and the values they represent have become an embarrassment, making me ashamed to call Texas my home. I'm not surprised when people say horrible things about the state. It's hard to argue with the facts anymore. As a 25-year-old woman who proudly identifies as pro-choice, the recent restriction on abortion access is a huge step backward. This draconian measure strips women of their right to make decisions about their own bodies, taking us centuries back in the fight for reproductive freedom. It's disheartening to see the erosion of women's rights in Texas, and I'm terrified that other states will follow suit. My recent move away from Texas has given me a sense of relief, but I'm still worried about the state's trajectory and the influence of its strong religious conservative base. I don't plan on needing an abortion anytime soon, but I want the option to be available to me and other women, should we TIFU by aggressively molesting an older woman in a crowd. I completely forgot about this story, but my cousin reminded me of it this afternoon. I was maybe 14 to 15 years old when this happened, so quite a while ago. Please be kind, I was also a dumb kid once. In any case, we were. I'm still cringing from that time I accidentally grabbed an elderly woman's chest at a street festival. I was reminded of this story by my cousin this afternoon, and I'm still mortified about what happened. It was probably around 14 to 15 years ago, so quite a while ago, but I'm still embarrassed about it. We were at a street festival and my cousins and their family were visiting from out of town, so we were out exploring the festival all evening. I was holding a bunch of paper cones from the cotton candy stand, so I put them in a bin and headed back to find my family. There was a huge crowd at this point because someone was bungee jumping off a crane, but I spotted my cousin's jacket in the crowd, which gave me a burst of excitement. I had this annoying habit of teasing him by grabbing his chest, which always got a reaction from him, so I walked up behind him and gave him a squeeze. However, what followed was a loud, hoarse scream, and multiple blows to my head and neck. I was completely taken aback and didn't know what was happening, so I just kept apologizing to him while covering my face. When I stepped back a bit, today my best friend had a mental breakdown. He is my best friend, but I realized I was never his best friend. I have known Gary since my sophomore year, we have been best friends since then. He was always there for me no matter of the situation. When my ex cheated on me and I witnessed a heartbreaking moment in my relationship with Gary, my self-proclaimed best friend. I've known him since my sophomore year, and for years, I've relied on him for emotional support. When I went through a difficult breakup, I became withdrawn and struggled with depression. Gary stepped in, helping me turn my life around by enrolling me in a gym, cleaning up my laptop, and encouraging me to attend therapy. His guidance even assisted me in preparing for a job interview that led to my current position. Gary is a highly respected and beloved individual, admired by all for his intelligence, charisma, and warm personality. Many people seek his counsel, drawn to his kindness and wisdom. I, too, have confided in him about my problems, often breaking down in tears in front of him. However, our dynamic was about to take an unexpected turn. During a casual outing, Gary suddenly broke down, sobbing uncontrollably and exhibiting erratic behavior. I was stunned, as I've never seen him so vulnerable. He confided in me that he was exhausted and couldn't continue, though it wasn't clear what he was referring to. He requested that I drop him off at his parents' house, which I did. As I returned home, a disturbing "I don't want to take part in my GF's 23F sex ritual on our wedding night, but I still want to marry her" my post was capped because I didn't have a throwaway account, but I'd like some advice. So I'm 23M, getting married to my GF 23F early next year if all goes to plan. Navigating a cultural quagmire in my upcoming marriage. My situation is a bit complicated, but I hope you can offer some advice. I'm 23 and getting married to my partner, who's 23, early next year. While we're both excited about the union, there's an unexpected cultural hurdle that's been bothering me. I've always been the quiet type, and my partner's family, particularly her cousins, often tease me about our wedding night. It's a bit awkward since I'm certain they know we've been together before, having shared a bed during holiday gatherings. The family dynamic can be overwhelming at times, but they're ultimately warm and caring people. Recently, we started discussing our wedding plans and honeymoon ideas. During one conversation, my partner mentioned that we might not need a bridal suite right away, which seemed a bit unusual. She explained that her family has a long-standing tradition for the wedding night that I wasn't aware of. According to this tradition, the newlyweds enter the master bedroom together, and the rest of the family waits outside, eager to applaud and celebrate their union. A piece of the bed sheet is then cut off and added to a family heirloom tapestry. I was taken aback by this AITA for using my son's savings to get his stepbrother's car fixed. My stepson, 19, got a new car from his bio mom. She and her family are well off, and unlike me, they could afford to buy a car. I'm happy for my stepson, but my son, 17, isn't. In fact, he complains about how am I the asshole for using my son's summer savings to cover the costs of his stepbrother's damaged car? My stepson, who is 19, recently received a car from his biological mother, who has a higher socioeconomic status than our family. My son, who is 17, has been expressing feelings of resentment towards this gift, claiming it's unfair that his stepbrother received such a privilege while he has not. I acknowledge that it's unreasonable for him to expect our family to provide him with similar gifts, but I also understand that teenage years can be challenging and emotionally charged. When my son requested permission to drive the car, I explained to him that it's his stepbrother's property and that he needs to respect that. However, my son continued to make demands and ultimatums, insisting that he should be allowed to drive the car or else it would have to be gotten rid of. When my husband confronted him about his behavior, my son deliberately caused extensive damage to the car, including throwing paint on it, breaking the lights, and damaging the front bumper. Upon discovering the damage, my husband was furious, and my son responded by laughing and giving him the middle finger. I then took the majority of my son's summer savings. I felt kind of silly wearing my mask at the grocery store today because no one else was, until I'm currently living in a small rural area, and I guess news got around that things are starting to lift in other areas because I didn't see anyone wearing masks at the grocery. As I entered the grocery store, I couldn't help but feel a bit self-conscious about wearing my mask, especially since no one else seemed to be. It was a peculiar feeling, like I was the only one who hadn't received the memo that things were easing up elsewhere. My surroundings, though, gave me a different perspective. Living in a small rural area, I must have been out of the loop about the changes happening in other parts of town. It was as if the news hadn't quite reached us yet, because when I walked into the grocery store, not a single person had a mask on. I still had mine securely in place, and I couldn't help but feel like a lone anomaly. However, my gaze fell upon a young boy, probably around 10 years old, and his mother walking down an aisle. To my surprise, they both had their masks on, and I sensed that the boy wasn't too thrilled about it. But then he caught sight of me, and I could tell it made a world of difference. With my tattoos and eclectic hairstyle, I was definitely an unconventional sight, and I think it reassured the boy that he wasn't the only one who felt the same way. As I continued shopping, I noticed the boy walking AITA for refusing to pay for thousands for something my child broke. I live in a pretty small town, so if you don't know somebody directly, you're likely to know a person who knows them, and this is pretty much biting me in the ass right now. My husband and I are looking to up. Am I the terrible person for refusing to pay for something my child accidentally damaged? Living in a close-knit community has its drawbacks, and I'm experiencing that right now. My husband and I are in the process of looking for a larger home to accommodate our growing family. We've been attending several open houses in the area, and our most recent visit was marred by an unfortunate incident involving our 4-year-old daughter. While we were viewing the property, my child wandered off and picked up a bright, flashy mask that was carelessly left out on a table. It was extremely loud, and when I spotted her handling it, I quickly intervened, but unfortunately, it was already damaged. The incident left me feeling embarrassed, and we decided it was time to leave. A mutual acquaintance of ours, who is connected to the homeowner, witnessed our hasty departure and subsequently informed the homeowner that she had seen me rushing out of the house. However, when the homeowner returned to find the mask broken, she was quick to contact me and demand that I compensate her for the damages. Her price tag? An outrageous sum of over $4,000.